as opposed to June 19th.
I know some here have heard me tell this before, and maybe everybody knows it, but pretend that you haven't heard it because I like to tell that story. It's a story about the parent with the two children and two sons, and one of them was a dyed-in-the-wool pessimist, and the other one was an incurable optimist. And they thought they were both so unrealistic that they talked to a psychiatrist about it, and he said he thought he could solve the problem. And they said, well, what? Well, he said, let's get the most magnificent set of toys any boy ever had, and we'll put him in a room. We'll take the pessimist there, and then we'll turn him loose, and when he sees those toys and knows they're all for him, he'll get over being a pessimist. Well, he said, what are you going to do about the optimist? Well, he said, I have a friend who's got a racing stable, and he said, we can get quite a quantity of what they clean out of the stable, and we'll put that in another room, and when the optimist has seen his brother get those toys, and then he gets that, he'll get over being an optimist. Well, they did it. Finally, after a period, they then went in and followed in where the boy was with the toys, and he was sitting there crying. And they said, what are you crying about? He said, well, I know somebody's going to come and take these away from me. And they went down to the room with the optimist, and he was on that top of that pile of stuff, and he was throwing it over his shoulder as fast as he could. And they said, what are you doing? He says, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere.
That's funny.
Yeah, I thought so. And I thought, you know what? Let me share something that's kind of light and fun, considering, the current old president that we have in there right now. So instead of having a degree of wit, this is what we're...
Nitwit. It's more nitwit.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what's so weird? It's almost like a Monty Python sketch, because he starts wandering away, and the leaders of the Western world, watch them navigate towards him now. Watch as they try to fake that he's normal, and she tries to turn him around here, and they all kind of come over. But I think if he pulled down his pants and took a dump, they would do the same thing and think that's normal. It's almost like some bad Monty Python sketch.
Yeah, literally the emperor has no clothes.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, but it's like, holy crap. At some point, somebody's got to acknowledge that this guy's delusional. The Europeans won't do it. They're too polite.
Yeah, it's completely insane what's going on with the dude. I mean, this is how he greets the Pope.
That's a headbutt. That knocked the Pope out for about 10 minutes, 7 minutes. He was unconscious from this vicious headbutt. And then they put Biden in the penalty box. I mean, I guess he's the enforcer of the Western world, taking out the Pope here, who, by the way, this Pope cannot stop saying the F word.
F word. Yeah.
And I don't mean
bundles of wood.
Bundles of wood that he keeps referring to the sexuality of some of his fellow cats who work in the Vatican. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, he said that there's a definite, what is it, scent of it or feel?
Well, he's made us a few different variations, but the one word remains in the middle of the variations. This is now the World Wrestling Federation Pope.
Yeah, it's the F-free word.
Yeah, this is the new macho Pope. I thought he was the woke Pope.
Yep. Oh, and here we go. We're going on and on. This seems to be the drumbeat to get him
what
out.
Is it? Oh yeah, we predicted this a year ago. This was coming. We said this over a year ago, that there's literally this combo with his son. I mean, Barnes said it. I said it. I mean, I'm not alone in this, but the combo event right before the convention, which is in July for them, August for us. I think it is the Trump one's in August. This one is I think July. No, theirs is the Republicans July 15th, and theirs is August 27th. So they've got enough time here to pull this off, Eric.
Yeah. And
I think that June
marching.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you see him marching, and it's getting louder and louder and louder.
Getting louder, the drum beat. I mean, I was shocked the other day. 538, Nate Silver, the middle infielder of the Democratic football team, announcing that they may want to look for another candidate. This is a drip, drip, drip coming down now in the beginning of June, middle of June, drip till August. And Newsom is in the bullpen. He's now warmed up. He's everywhere. He's doing press events. He's doing international diplomacy, anything but highways and homelessness here in California. He is fully ready to go. He's ready to get the call from the manager to come into the game.
Wow. Definitely happening. But let's go to your hometown. Since you brought up Newsom, that brings up California. We always have to have something going on in California.
Yeah, this was yesterday, Eric. This was good. This was from yesterday, right over here.
LA City Council members Hugo Soto Martinez and Nithya Raman were on hand today to help remove the signs. They say the no cruising and no U-turn signs were put up in the 1990s.
Just stop that for a second. Just stop that for 1 second.
Community.
If you could go backwards for 1 second. Martinez and Rothman, the woman on the right is from India. She's an avowed Marxist. She's my city councilwoman. The guy on the left is an avowed Marxist. I don't mean, guys who with Marxist policies. I mean avowed Marxist.
Yes.
The person in the middle is maybe a girl. That's his legal name. He's the one who debated Adam Schiff last year on the platform about the Ukrainian war. He is now a neighborhood councilwoman, whatever that means. He couldn't find a position, an elected official position. So they took down these no U-turn signs in Silver Lake, which is about less than a half a mile from me right here. And they took down the no U-turn signs. And let's see if the people at home can figure out why before we resume the video. I just want people at home to use their wildest freaking imaginations to try to come up with a reason that this troika, 2 Marxists and a tranny, have decided to take down that road sign, because the roads are tight in there. They're very narrow, and there's a lot of things going on in those roads. I'll just give it 5 seconds for you guys to put up in the chat what you think is going on here. Start typing.
My impulse thought would have been to say, there's no going back on your transition.
You know what? That's what I thought. That's Eric. That's exactly what I thought. And I learned the hard way that that's not true. But great idea. That was my original idea. Anybody else in the chat have a good one of what's going on here? Because that's out. Eric and I agreed that that was our first thought. And I haven't talked to Eric about this. This story just broke yesterday, so it's on the news today. Okay, play the tape. Let's see what the answer is. Go to the videotape, Wolf.
No U-turn signs were put up in the 1990s to prevent people in the gay community from meeting up with other gay people.
I was also surprised that these U-turn signs were still up. And at first, they seem a little, okay, it's just a no U-turn sign. But when you learn the history of it and you realize that these were used to profile gay people, it's so important that we have these removed.
The LA City Council members say the signs were put up after the gay community began to grow and because there was a gay bar in that area.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, so you all got it wrong, including myself. I got it wrong. Eric got it wrong. And we now know the real reason why they put it up was as follows. These are family neighborhoods, and they were cruising in cars all night up and down Silver Lake Boulevard, looking for other people to have sex with in cars. And the families went to the city to prevent these all-night 2 o'clock post-bar closing cruisings up and down the street. So this had to be removed, and the bar is still there, but they're in a post anti-gay world, I guess, and they don't need these U-turn signs anymore, or they have enough city councilmen and enough power to remove road signs at this point that are effective in terms of traffic control.
Good luck to the residents.
Good luck to the residents now, because that's where it came from. Not from another planet, from the people who live there, who were sick and tired of cars driving up and down the street at night after the bars closed, making U-turns back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, to pick up other members of their caucus, of their sex caucus. Put
Well
it that
done.
way. Well, I didn't know what to say, but I do want to get into Flag Day because Eric is curious about the history of Flag Day and what it means.
Absolutely.
So it's really to help Eric out because today is Flag Day, June 14, 1777. Since then, 37 stars have been added to the flag from 1777. The red standing for valor and hardiness, I think, white for purity and justice, and the blue for vigilance and, I believe, perseverance. The fascinating part of the story is a guy named Bob Heft, a kid in school, got a B- on his report in school. Bob Heft, in 1958, for his art project in school, designed a flag and got a B- on it because the flag had 50 stars, Hunley. So he got a B-, the lowest mark he got the whole year for this bizarre design. Now, Heft, to his credit, the kid had foreseen the adoption of Alaska and Hawaii into the Union, which was in the news and in the zeitgeist. 2 years later to the day, he gets a phone call from a guy who invites him to Washington, D.C., and his name is President Eisenhower, and they unveil the 50-star flag and present it to this kid, Bob Heft. So today I salute Bob Heft for Flag Day, my friend, who got the B- on the 50-star flag.
Wow, there's got to be a lesson in there too. Like
I had to tell you that, Hunley, because I figured you need to know.
Definitely. Yeah. I do need to know.
Happy Flag Day, everybody. And I don't mean the crazy flags that are flying all around the planet Earth right now, trying to raise them above our flag illegally, including the one that was on the White House illegally.
Not the freak flags are saying?
Not the freak flags, the U-turn flags.
Oh, good. All right. Well, here, you might enjoy this. I know you don't follow AI as much as I do. But
well, no, you put out the part 3 of Oswald, which I strongly recommend. It's the most controversial part Eric has done with AI to turn my scripts into AI audio projects. And it's the most controversial script for locals members and for people who want to join and hear it. Now would be a good time because part 3 is really the backbone of the entire 5-script series. But Eric has used AI for the first time to literally bring scripts to life. I don't know if anybody's ever done this before. If they have, I haven't heard about it. I know there's audiobooks that do it for different publishing companies, but I think this is the first time anybody's ever done it with actual film scripts.
Could be. I'm not sure. I'm talking about AI in general too, though. I mean, because it's amongst us. Apple just had their event for WWDC on Monday, and the second half of their event was all about, well, they've rebranded it, Apple Intelligence.
Oh yeah, what is that? What they have their own?
Well, it's their own spin, which is good. A lot of what they're doing is very clever, etc. But I wanted to point this out. Paul Nakasone, the former director of the National Security Agency, has now joined the board of OpenAI.
Oh boy!
So that's just what we need.
That's not good.
Need the NSA
with NSI and NSC. Wow.
Yeah. So
well, you talk about people who can't leave well enough alone, but there's something I just wanted to touch on before we move forward with these bizarre stories. In 1972, so I'm reading a lot about Nixon and the overlap of LBJ and Nixon, which is where Eric and I are going with this Watergate coverage. LBJ, according to Nixon, and I'm reading a lot of Nixon's memoirs, LBJ supported him completely on the war in 1972 and was completely appalled and hated George McGovern. And he told Nixon this. And he just thought McGovern was a pile of sticks, to quote a previous segment in the show. And Nixon asked him why he couldn't come out and publicly endorse him, because he was really trying to get, and Buchanan talked about this at the time. It was in a 1983 interview, but the event happened in 1972. And in 1972, what LBJ was saying to Nixon, I got to quote LBJ on this because it's so purely an LBJ quote that no man could have said this other than LBJ. And here's the quote. he's telling this to Buchanan. He goes, well, I'm for Nixon, but I'm not going to say anything public. After all, I've been sucking at the tit of the Democratic Party so long that I'm not going to let go now simply because the milk has turned sour because of what the poor cow is eating. And I just thought, oh, that's going to my Hall of Fame of LBJ quotes. I had never heard that before. Absolutely brilliant quote of a guy who really wanted to endorse Nixon, but he couldn't because he was sucking on the tit of the Democratic Party. And now the poor cow is eating something sour.
Wow. You know, it sounds like something Dershowitz could say now.
Now, yeah. I mean, but he says it, you know, like they were talking about the Vietnam War, and one of the senators said, this is like playing with a donkey's thing. The more you play with it, the bigger it gets in terms of Vietnam. That was another great one. I never heard that. Oklahoma, a senator from congressman from Oklahoma said that. He heard it when he was a kid. The more you play with it, the bigger it gets, whatever the problem was that they were referring to. In this case, Vietnam.
That sounds like Mo Udall did a lot of
Mo Udall.
He's not from Oklahoma, but like one of his famous ones were that caucuses are like cactuses, only the pricks are on the inside.
That's a good one. You know, I follow this Nicole Shanahan. I don't know if you heard her name before. She's on Twitter and she gets like, I don't know, 28 comments. It looks like she's got like 2,000 followers. It's really bizarre coming out of Silicon Valley. But she keeps celebrating things like they're at 20% tied with Biden in Utah.
No, that's why I mentioned ahead, Mark. They pulled ahead. Hold on.
So I'm going like Utah is actually in play. And I go, what part of delusional thinking have you guys been drinking from? Because it's insane. They said the same thing later today, the woman, same thing about Tennessee. I go, are you saying you're going to win Utah and Tennessee? Because that would be news. And instead, they're saying, no. We're
number two.
We're
number two.
Or three, depending on how you look at it. I mean, the idea that Trump, who got almost 60% of the vote in Utah last time, is going to lose Utah to RFK is the most preposterous thing I've heard in American politics since McGovern got the nomination by the DNC in 1972. Holy crap, are these people insane?
Yeah, they are. Okay. Speaking of insane, we're coming into the 4th of July. One of the big events on the 4th of July is the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Oh, Joey Chestnut. Are you going to do Joey? Is that what this is?
No. Yes, Joey got jettisoned. But here, check it out. I think Nathan's have burned themselves because Joey Chestnut is now going to compete against Takeru Kobayashi, who apparently also was banned from the event due to a sponsor disagreement or something like that. And now here's the situation.
Right.
You have the 4th of July, the typical contest. Everybody's going to be like, yeah, whatever. You know, the real players aren't here. They're going to be on Netflix on Labor Day.
Oh, my God.
Doing a showdown. So I think that whoever runs that, Staten Island or whatever, Nathan's famous.
It's Coney Island. It's Coney Island, by the way.
Oh, Coney Island. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It started out. I mean, he was the winner every year for a long time, Chestnut.
Like a 16 crazy year.
I mean, dude, imagine what the inside of his intestines look like. I mean, just think about what's going on down there. You're a doctor and you go, oh, dear God, what am I looking at here, Chestnut? Well, I ate 1,700 hot dogs, Doc. Is there a problem?
No, those aren't polyps. They're dogs. They're Polish.
Those are entire dogs. That we're going to have to laser out your entire intestine, my friend.
Oh, my God. Let's see. This one you sent to me, and we wanted to go ahead and discuss.
Wait, I just want to finish the California thing out. What do you got from California? I'm sorry. So we can keep it all together in one.
Well, okay. You sent me this one. This is California. This is a serious one, and I did watch the full video. But it's astounding.
Oh, yeah. This is making national news. Yeah, this is all over the news nationally now. Wow.
Well, the video is incredible, though. Incredible. I've never seen more people say, yeah, not my job.
Yeah. Well, they're not just people; they're law enforcement of various ilk.
DEA,
yeah,
FBI,
everybody,
local police, airport police, TSA. And it's like, are you kidding me? So TSA, folks, just so people understand, we'll just stick with the very top one. The TSA.
Well, just go backwards. Explain the Polk County Sheriff, Eric, who opens up those luggage things and finds 80 billion pounds of meth in there.
All right. Well, okay. The Polk County Sheriff, and this guy's been on YouTube a lot. He's pretty active sheriff.
Yeah.
He busted out, found drugs in the luggage, and as he put it, they didn't even bother wrapping it in shit. It was like literally every bit of the suitcase was just packed up with drugs because, they make sure you get all the weight in there that they can.
Right. They don't want to waste the space with putting clothing in there.
And it turns out that these people just carry it right on through. And the TSA is in agreement. They said, we don't look for drugs. Yeah. We only care about explosives and weapons.
And the dogs only sniff.
Sniff for explosive and weapons. And it's completely mind-boggling because they don't have the dogs who are doing it. They're saying that's not our job. So then the FBI, it's like, well, is that your job? It's like, no. It's only our job, and I forgot the circumstances.
Yeah,
in this 10-minute period, we can touch it. It's,
right. Well, and once the plane doors close, they said, remember?
Yeah.
That was like the air marshals one. If the plane door closes, we're involved. If it's open, it's TSA. If it's outside the terminal, it's FBI. If it's inside, it's LAPD, LAX police. Dude, it was crazy.
Abbott Costello, wrote out their job plan.
Wow. Anyway, so these drugs are being shipped around the world by simply people again, they may not even be on the plane. They may just drop off their luggage and cop a walk. You know what I mean, Eric? You go and you can go to the terminal, drop off your luggage, and then not get on the plane, have somebody with the luggage tags pick them up in Tennessee or Madrid, Spain.
Yeah, that was the other crazy part. Is it's for the world now.
Yeah,
it's
the whole world. Yeah,
Australia, Big Bust, all these places they're literally just loading it up and throwing it on the plane.
On LAX, and that's why
mind blowing.
The guy said there's no more of these little Barry Seals landing a plane on a mountain airstrip. That hasn't happened in 20 years, according to all the experts, because they're using 777s to take their drugs around the world.
Yeah,
it's one of the most astonishing stories I've heard in years.
I agree. And I mean, think about it. You can't blame them. It makes perfect sense.
Even he says that. Even the sheriff said that.
It is crazy. Yeah, there is a lot of California stories. I'm reorganizing.
Well, not as crazy as this one. California bill would require cars to beep when driver is speeding. I'll put this up. This is from this week's Epic Times. This is again from the same Scott Wiener out of San Francisco who legislates these things. He got blowback, again, copying the EU. That's what these progressives do. They go to Europe on vacation and they go, hey, look at that, Barbara, or in his case, Bob. And they go, why don't we do that? And they go, okay, well, in Europe, they have cars that you can't accelerate past the speed limit because they've got governors on them.
Sure.
So his original bill had the governor part in there, and everybody went berserk. So he took it out. And now if your car goes over the speed limit meaning anywhere it perceives a sign, maybe 25 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, 60, wherever it is, your car will incessantly start beeping, non-freaking stop. That's where all the new cars are going in that are coming allowed into the state of California.
Can you do me a favor, Mark, and have your representative next time vacation on the Autobahn?
Yeah, it would be on the Autobahn because they seem to be doing 120 on the Autobahn. This is
or whatever they can go.
SB 961 manufacturers of passenger cars. This will start in literally it started the 2023 report. It's going to start in 4 years. So this is going to happen with these beeping cars going over the speed limit.
By the way, this used car market is going to freaking explode.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Don't buy anything now that's connected because they'll be able to shut off.
I was
like
going
Dustin
to.
here.
Wait, Justin's got a take on this.
Yeah, just wait till they program the car to not start if you owe back taxes.
Well, okay, so in California, they passed a legislation that it will start, and they will add 3 cents per mile when you're over the limit for your taxes. And then if you do not pay your taxes all the way down the line, which is further down, obviously, this will be included in your state tax bill. Then they will have the governor turn off, and I don't mean the governor of the state, the governor on the car will prevent it from starting. There's a kill switch built into all, even the 2024 models have a kill switch built in already in anticipation of this taxation program.
Yeah.
Because as California goes, so goes the nation. You guys got to understand that. That's why we're in here fighting these battles, because this will spread. The car manufacturers cannot manufacture cars for one state, no matter how big the state is.
You know, what's funny. Jordan Peterson said something the other day, and I was like, wow, I never put that together. But he said that these idiot leftists, he said they hate 2 things, humor and cars.
I told you that. I told you about the humor for years, because
cars.
It's mockery. Cars, I've said that to you. That's why they're trying to force people into mass transit here in LA. They despise the independent freedom of the car. There's no doubt about that. They've talked about it incessantly in California. The mass transit drug is something, again, they cite Europe and China about this. They are determined, even if it's free, they don't care. They'll pay for it for people to get on there for free on mass transit. They do not care about the money part. They want to now raise the amount of the registration costs. From what I'm hearing out of Sacramento, it will soon be about $800 simply to re-register your car every year. They're going to, using draconian payments, drive out the Mexican and regular white working class people who can't afford to pay $800 to register your car. So you're going to have more illegal driving around. That crap's going to happen at the beginning. But eventually their goal is to weed out anybody driving a car. Right. That is true. And comedy, I'm telling you right now, there was no improv theater in Berlin in 1933.
No. By the way, I am proud about this. Virginia rejected California's EV mandates.
Right, but he's not done yet over there. They're still fighting that battle there and up in Connecticut, Virginia and Connecticut. They're fighting to the death over that because I think we covered this a couple of weeks ago, that they spent like, I don't know, $70 billion to put these charging stations in. And Buttigieg was on TV saying we've spent $82 so far.
Oh, I think he said he has 6 or 8 of them made.
Yeah, he had 6 or 8 of them built. And it's not like you can plunk them down in the middle of nowhere. He said there are wires. And it reminded me of the guy who said the internet was a series of tubes. But nobody made that connection.
Speaking of wires.
Oh, yeah. This battle of this bridge, this 6th Street bridge that opened up a couple of years ago, was a spectacular little tiny mini bridge. It just goes over a little aqueduct, but it connects downtown LA with a couple little roads that go into downtown. It was all lit up, beautiful bridge. They've stolen every single copper wire that is the wire needed for the lights on the bridge. So it's back in the dark again, and there's nothing they can do about it because the homeless keep stealing the copper wire when they're not. Again, I know people are obsessed with this story of the brass that's in the fire hydrants and the fact that they get, even Jason Rants covered it the other day. I noticed after we got off the air, Rants had covered it up in Washington. Not that it's happening up there. He was covering it that it was happening here.
Well, he does the whole West Coast.
Yeah, he covers the West Coast. So it's about $150 a fire hydrant is what these cats are getting. And, you know, these metal junkyards don't care where you're getting metal from. People were saying, well, why are they letting them pay for this? They don't care where you got your metal from. So they
they do. I did talk to our metal guy who runs one of these. He DM'd me on Twitter somewhere. I forgot where it was, but he said that when it comes to fire hydrants, they actually will not buy them unless a municipality comes in. So like if the fire department comes in and brings a truck.
Oh, right.
Then they will do it. But
that's why
California,
they've stolen and sold over 400 counting right now. So whoever said that is living in the Wizard of Oz world.
No, he's living in another state.
Right. I'm saying here they pay for it. Right.
Oh, I know.
What goes on in another state is normal. The metal junkyards here are paying $150 per fire hydrant. That's what happened with the copper wire. That's what happened with the brass statues that they cut with the metal saws. And you could yell all you want about the legality of it, but the fact of the matter is that it becomes like, what is that when they crash into each other, the cars? Demolition Derby. It's like an episode of Demolition Derby because they're stealing cars that are on the street, wiring them and just smashing in reverse into the fire hydrant and taking the fire hydrant. You can argue all you want about the logic of it, folks, and the numbers and all your different autistic angles to this thing. But the reality of it is there's 400 missing fire hydrants. There's not water gushing out of the ground. I don't know what it takes to get the water to gush out of the ground, but it's not gushing out of the ground. There's simply...
If I'm going to argue logic, I'm not going to start with California.
Right. No, but I'm saying it's not arguing logic. They're saying this can't happen because of this. And I'm going, but it is happening despite why you're saying it can't happen because of fill in the blank. Like nobody would steal this because it's only worth by my calculations, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, your calculations might be off. I know you're a former engineer who worked at Boeing, but junkies are stealing fire hydrants. Anyway, I just wanted to get that story out there again.
Well, I'm sure that this problem is going to be resolved because they're building out for homeless this residential tower.
This is the greatest tower. I call this the homeless Hilton. This is 600,000 an apartment. I forget how many it is. 200 and something. Eric, does it say it's a 19-story brand new building? Was it 278 apartments or? I can't.
19 stories. I don't know how many apartments. 278.
278. Yeah, like I said, 278 apartments. They're going to go into these apartments. It's there it is on the right. It's brand new. And when you check into the apartment and you get your new apartment, you immediately give up smoking crack and fentanyl because you have a new apartment. Everybody knows you're absolutely cured because you have an apartment with a gym. Okay. And you couldn't possibly want to smoke crack or fentanyl in your brand new apartment. This is the insanity of their housing first program for the homelessness. It's been denounced by many, many experts, yet they continue to drive this crazy train down the street claiming that this is going to cure homelessness, that addiction has nothing to do with homelessness. They can treat the addiction, which they don't agree even exists, later with therapy. But they have to give you a $600,000 apartment first. That's number one. That's what you get when you smoke crack and fentanyl and live on the street. You get this incredible, what I call the homeless Hilton building, which is opening up downtown. Now, I suggest it's possible that in building these buildings, there might be graft and corruption and handouts going on to the builders and the designers and to everyone else. That's kind of what I think is going on. Their obsession with building these buildings to house the homeless, miniature ones. This is a big daddy. This is, like I said, this is the homeless Hilton of all their different ones. They have garden apartments. They have little miniature cube apartments. They have all kinds of different apartments. And yet they push them in there and they immediately start smoking crack, which they did on the outside because they bring it onto the inside. So they deny that happens, and eventually they have to get kicked out or something has to happen in the apartments themselves because the addiction does not go away when they give you a brand new car.
I look at that going on and I can't help but wonder if some people might say, I'm going to go grab a tent from Walmart. I'm not going to bathe for many days, and let me get myself a free apartment.
Well, if bite-sized me hadn't died, he may have been able to do a documentary on this. What was that? Over
Morgan Spurlock.
Morgan Spurlock. This is something a young Morgan Spurlock, the younger version of him, could actually do and play it out. Because I would love to be a fly on the wall to see that documentary footage. Or any footage once they go into these into the homeless Hilton, because the hotels that they've converted, and there's some luxury hotels downtown that they've converted to homeless shelters. They have guards on every floor. They're armed camps. They have knifing, stabbings, fights, bum fights, drinking, crazy, just nonstop stuff where these hotels, which might have a lot of glass and look luxurious, are now plastered with signs of what you can do, what you can't do, and tons of security because of them not giving up their habits simply because they have a hotel room. The same is true for the apartment. Unfortunately, the apartments average out to $600,000 a piece.
Oof.
Times 278 is the cost of that building.
Good God. I mean, that's what's so sickening, though, is how much they're being given.
Yeah.
It
was a proposition HHH. So again, the retarded people of the state voted for this, and the city voted to have this yet another ballot initiative that they were duped. Now they're trying to repeal Proposition 47. This is a battle to the death out here. Proposition 47 reduced the shoplifting and all these other crimes from felonies to misdemeanors. Shoplifting over $900, that is, breaking and entering, all these different things became misdemeanors under Prop 47. Well, you would think they were trying to repeal slavery. The amount of fighting going on over this bill to simply get it on the ballot so the people could vote to get rid of the thing that they voted for. The deception on these ballot initiatives is the writing of them. And this is an art form out here. And the guy who is going to write the repeal of Prop 47 is surprisingly the Attorney General of California, Rob Bonta, who was appointed by Newsom, who does not want the repeal of Prop 47 because it would be an admission that the entire shitstorm has gone up in flames. So it's not going to happen. They're going to continue to loot and have robberies out here for many years to come, unless, like I saw Trump was having a big fundraiser in Silicon Valley, Eric. Last week, he was out here for a huge Silicon Valley fundraiser, for Christ's sakes.
Somebody pointed out that it is sometimes possible that when things have gone too far beyond the pale, it can snap back even harder and faster going the other way. Like Oregon, legalized like every drug out there, and now they're, never mind, they're illegal again.
What it takes is losing lawsuits, and I speak in general terms, losing big lawsuits in court over policies that you've initiated. That's usually what does it. But you open the show with a guy who beat Pat Brown and became governor of the state of California when nobody thought that was possible. Nixon had lost to Pat Brown in 1962, and his son would later become governor twice. Moonbeam would come back. But then we had a Schwarzenegger in between, a Reagan-like figure who did not let the state go completely over the top.
No, and that was because of Gray Davis. And guess what? You had the blackouts during Gray Davis. You're having the same shit going on now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It seems possible that
history does repeat itself on many issues, fortunately and unfortunately.
Yeah, if you could just get a good moderator. See, that would have been a good RFK Jr. slot, as we discussed.
They can't even believe I'm suggesting this. They're so shocked that somebody would come up with this idea. The RFK people that I've talked to, they don't know what to say. They're kind of stunned that this is even an idea. The fact, and what Eric and I are talking about, is the fact that I brought up last week, I think it was on Emerald Robinson's show, that RFK Jr., like his uncle and like his father, who he keeps touting, should run and walk in to the United States Senate, because the only thing blocking him is pencil neck Adam Schiff, who he easily could have defeated with his name recognition and his father's being a member of the United States Senate and his uncle John F. Kennedy being a member of the United States Senate. Okay, maybe you don't want to be the United States Senator. It's 6 years. You got to hang out there. You got to move to D.C. I get it. I had another plan for them. He walks into the governorship in Sacramento, becomes the governor of the fourth largest country in the world, which is the state of California economically. Nobody's running. Newsom's termed out in 24 months. The people who've thrown their hats into the ring, nobody's ever heard of them. They're just minor political people in California. RFK Jr. could walk into the governor's mansion and try out and run California in his home state. All his different ideas could be implemented here for 45 million people, and yet he's not interested in either one. Why? Because he's not interested in governing. Why? Because his presidential campaign is a campaign of ideas. And unfortunately for us, he's picked a year that is the most important election in American history to try out his ideas and shave points off a basketball game that doesn't need to be rigged. And he's going to take from both candidates, and it's kind of like having an X factor, and neither candidate wants him in there. He's trying to get into the debates, obviously. And as I said to my friend Thomas Jane the other day, running for Kicks, yeah, I said it's like watching Ali Frazier in a fight, and they allow a dwarf into the ring who runs around the ring after you paid $1,800 for your ticket to Madison Square Garden. They allow a dwarf into the ring who keeps punching Ali and Frazier in the nuts every once in a while during a fight that they're focusing intently upon each other, if that makes any sense to anybody out there. That bizarre analogy, but that's because I took a lot of acid. The reality of it is this guy has two opportunities to govern. One is the United States Senate. And I mean, not fighting. I mean, walking into those jobs. He would be uncontested if he announced the governorship. Nobody would throw a hat in the ring against him.
He would get like 70 to 80%.
Absolutely.
Ridiculous
Absolutely. The same with the U.S. Senate thing. He would crush this mutt Schiff and walk into the United States Senate, and then you could leave in 2028 and run. It's happened before. That's what his father did. You know, but the reason I mention this is he keeps touting the historical record of his uncle and his father, ignoring the arc of their employment, which was Congress, Senate, in his father's case, Attorney General, stopping off there, and then going on to the presidential race. He doesn't want to do any of that. He wants to work out in Malibu, put out tweets, have rallies again. The rallies have 250 people. If he was getting Bernie Sanders level crowds, keep in mind, people forget Bernie Sanders was pulling in 30 to 50,000 person rallies on that time. This guy's got nothing. For all their tweets and all their Bubameises, this guy's got rallies with 200 people in them, Eric. It's silly. It's just silly.
Yeah, most of his aren't even rallies. He just seem to be like mini $100 plate meals.
Look, he had Eric Clapton playing at his house the other day. Wouldn't you like Eric Clapton to play at your house? Sure, I would. You know, he's in his house. It looked like, I want to say the tickets are probably $19,000. They look like there were 75 people there, but they each paid like 20 grand each. So it's worth it to have a private party with Eric Clapton at your house. Now, wealthy people in West LA might get Eric Clapton to play at their son's bar mitzvah, which I've heard of. So it's very similar.
Yeah. And I mean, well, think about it. If he's running on quote ideas, he gets to have a lot of fun. Hey, I'm going to go hang out with Eric Clapton. I'm going to do this. This is a party.
Right. And I mean, their ideas are almost poetic. You know, I'm reading these things by Shanahan. You know, this world vision we have of love and peace and happiness. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You know what? There are serious people here. There's so much at stake. Shut the fuck up and go home. I'm sick and tired of both of these mutts. I really am. I mean, shut up and get out of the lane. There are two mega people here running in this thing. Whether you like either one of them is not really the point. This is a binary race. One guy got nearly 100 million votes the last time, and the other guy got whatever he got from his basement. But the reality of it is you've got two, they keep saying the uniparty. And the uniparty is really, what they're talking about is the Congress itself. The uniparty is not the two candidates. They're two radically different candidates with, for the first time in American history, I believe, allows the voters to see one candidate who ruled for 4 years versus the other candidate who's already ruled for 4 years. I don't think that's happened in American history, running against each other again, where they've both been president, Eric.
Cleveland?
It's a popular city.
No, Grover Cleveland. No,
I'm kidding you. Let the chat look it up. Let the chat look it up.
I think we did have one split presidency. He lost, and then he came back and he won after
against the same guy.
against the guy who.
No.
I think it was. I think it was the same party, though. I think he stepped back and let somebody else go.
But I will say that this has never happened in American history before. Anyway, make a long story short, these two guys couldn't be more radically different, because if you look at 4 years ago and compare it to today, you have this model of a socialist model with Biden. Okay, that's fine. You have a older gentleman who's a figurehead. That's been done before. Okay, that's fine. You have a secret cabal of people behind him running the country. Okay, that's your model. They like that model. They don't like the strongman model. I get it. You've got an example of both of them, both the economy. Okay, both of them running against each other, and you have wars around the world. You have the economy into this and everything else. The point of the matter is they keep citing RFK's approval rating. Anybody who's ever run has an approval rating of 100%, because you've never had to make a decision in your life. Of course, his approval rating is higher than Trump or Biden. That's a preposterous measuring stick, Eric, because if you've never had to make a decision, nobody is disapproving your ruling because you've never ruled over anything. So that's insane. The fact that these two giants are fighting against each other, whether you like either one of them or not, I'm understanding that many pro-Hamas people have now decided that they're not going to vote for Biden because of his stance on the Middle East. Good. Knock yourselves out. Go home. Don't do anything. What do I care? The point of the matter is RFK does not fit into that model. This is a binary system. And right now, it couldn't be more binary than this particular year coming up, where they're trying to jail one of the contestants in the race. So, I mean, again, this guy has got to come back in 2028, start from scratch if you really believe in this dream that you have. Knock yourself out, come in a clear slate in 2028, or run for governor or run for the Senate. Get out of this lane, bro. You're in the wrong lane in the wrong time in American political history. It can't be more blunt than that.
Agree. All right. So continuing with your state, you've got this California middle schooler, and his sisters are booted from a private school because
Rob Schmidt had this on the other night.
By the way, those terms that you're looking at are in certain FBI manuals now too.
Spirit and patriotism.
Yeah. Oh, they don't like those.
Wow.
They're sitting right.
Well, it was an honorary position in the school to be the commissioner of spirit and patriotism. I forget what it's kind of close to the title. It's kind of like school president. And this is a parochial school, Catholic school in Huntington Beach, oddly enough, which is a red town that went for Trump. So the kid is wearing a red hat that says "Make St. Bonaventure great again," this whatever the name of the school is, right? So there's a little take on that, right? Mm-hmm. So the teacher who is woke, not the teacher, the principal of the school, obviously doesn't like the red hat. It's like she's fat, so it's like a red hat to a bull. She gets all bent out of shape, says the speech is a little too harsh. So the family rewrites the speech with the kid. And the kid gives the speech. She claims the speech was unauthorized. It was an unauthorized speech by a 12-year-old, and him and his sisters have been kicked out of the school. Now, I suggest that Trump take this kid with the hat, put him on the campaign trail with him, and use this, unless Trump could go to Huntington Beach, which I doubt because he's just been out here. It would be easier for Trump to take the kid and the family on the campaign trail and put this kid up behind the podium. That would be hysterical, because the kid is very eloquent, very funny, and very smart. And so is the sister, so is the mother, and the whole family. They're very, very nice. And they've been very nice to the woman who did this to them. They seem to be a turn the other cheek type family. And but the issue remains the same. They had to get a new school for their children to go to because they were kicked out of this school for that reason, which is outrageous. And they were on with Rob Schmidt on Newsmax the other night. The whole family, they were very sweet.
Yeah, or you could have the kid introduce them at the next event.
Yeah, no, right. There's so many ways
that would be amazing.
There's so many ways to use this kid. And it says, make whenever the name of the school is great again, which I thought was a kick, which was a kick to the in the face to the principal.
All right. Okay, this is sort of California, but we were talking about your interpreter having a new job. Sorry, Mark, no more. The interpreter has been banned from delivering UberEats now.
At some point, don't you have the right to work? I mean, what's the deal here?
Apparently, this organization determined that no, he can't deliver food for people.
It's very dark.
I'm just
very, very dark. Very dark. Bad karma. Bad karma.
I totally agree.
I'm going to use Grubhub. What's the other one? Grubhub or
DoorDash.
DoorDash.
And Grubhub. I think there's Grubhub too.
Yeah.
And there's like another one. I can't keep track. They're all jacked up anymore, though.
Right.
They used to be really nice. It was like, oh, you order it and it was a fair deal. Now it's like you have to subscribe every month. So we've stopped using them.
I stopped using them. There's a guy in a taco truck who brings me tacos from a taco truck. Then there is, I'll tell you another one. Chick-fil-A delivers from with an employee of Chick-fil-A.
Oh, there you go.
Just a little inside tip to people, because I've been getting Chick-fil-A delivered from a Chick-fil-A in Hollywood, and they send their own guy at no extra charge to you.
That's awesome.
No kidding. No kidding.
One thing I've noticed too is, have you ever seen a Chick-fil-A drive-through empty?
No, I never even. I'll tell you something else. I've never seen one at the airport that did not have a line out the door in the terminals.
Yep, every time.
What does that mean to you, Eric, as a large man?
Very funny. It means a lot of people are eating that shit.
Okay. Eric injured his back lifting 80-pound bags of dirt, apparently, for his wife to plant.
Thanks.
What, 60 pounds?
I don't know. I have no idea. They're heavy and they're
heavy. You got to use a dolly. You got to get that hand truck. That's what I got. I got a couple of portable hand carts.
All right. Well, speaking of people here and being turned on, looks like Fetterman has been making up too much sense. So now they're after him.
Let me ask you something. Did the car accident re-injure his brain? Because he's at fault, he rear-ended some woman.
Yeah, apparently he was texting while driving.
Texting, which is what Fetterman does. And now his brain has been re-injured again, either knocking out the Neuralink capacity or reverting him back to the pre-Fetterman that we knew from the beginning. Is that Mrs. Fetterman there? Or?
I think so.
If that's not a honeypot, I don't know what it. A honey trap. I don't know what is. I know he's been with her for 15 years. I think it was their anniversary when the accident occurred. Is that the accident there?
Yep.
Oh my God, that looks pretty bad.
Yeah, definitely messed up a vehicle.
So what are they going? They're going after him again now? Is he reverted?
Yeah, well now they're aides concerned by senators' unsafe driving, including FaceTiming behind the wheel. So remember, he's been coming out and being pretty supportive with Israel, things like that, and now. He was the darling. Leave him alone. The poor man. He's injured. He's a hero. Well, he's no longer a hero.
Oh my God.
And
is it too dangerous to drive with him, or is aides afraid of driving in the same car?
I don't know. I guess they are now.
Yeah. Wow. And Mrs. Fetterman, she's still hospitalized, or God?
I haven't followed what her status is, but
she's like his own Valeria Baldwin, I think, right?
Oh, Hilaria?
What did I say? Valeria?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Hilaria.
Yeah, maybe she is. I don't know.
By the way, whoever hit me to this film in the chat last week, God's Pocket, it's really good, with John Turturro and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Richard Jenkins. It's set in South Philly in a neighborhood that's mob run, and a couple other things happen. I don't want to give it away, but if you could find this film on Netflix or on Prime, highly recommended. A great little gangster picture.
Okay. Now coming from the Department of Utility, I don't know if you saw that Congress held Merrick Garland in contempt, but not to worry, the DOJ is not going to pursue criminal contempt charges against their own attorney general. I'm sure everybody's shocked.
Wait, but he is in other words, he's saying that he won't hold himself.
Exactly.
He's just inserting the letters DOJ
Exactly.
into there. He's the head of the DOJ. Did some lower ranking secretary say this or him?
It is a DOJ official. That's
right. But he is the head of the
I
officials.
know, that's my point.
It's like the vice president issuing a statement that the president will not be impeached. You know, I mean, what gravitas does that have? I mean, somebody's got to pick this weasel up. And this is I forget her name now. Somebody was telling me yesterday on Greg's show, the Thursday radio show out of Montgomery, Alabama, that the woman, Luna, I think her name is, the congresswoman out of South Florida, who is a Cuban American, wants to physically have him arrested and has the legal right to do that because he's in contempt of Congress. And as Merrick Garland has pointed out on numerous occasions, no man is above the law. Here he is saying that he, based on him, and they issued some memos about this, that he is legitimately above the law. And I'm going like, you can't make this stuff up, people. It's so crazy.
But he is not a man, Mark. He is a Superman.
He's a Superman. He's above the law. And apparently, you know, they went crazy on him yesterday on Kelly's show that he is not denouncing the anti-Semitic attacks in New York, the fact that the woman who runs the Brooklyn Museum had her house completely dosed in blood, and they put up Holocaust symbols on her house. The Department of Justice has not said one word. And then Kelly showed the clips of this guy, Merrick Garland, testifying and weeping in Congress that his family were survivors of the Holocaust. And Kelly, who is the son of the former commissioner of police, former police commissioner Kelly in New York, said, "What do you think your relatives would think of you now if they were still alive, Mr. Garland?" I mean, he was, remember, I don't know if you remember this, he was weeping about the Holocaust when they
that was the Homeland Security Secretary did the same bit. Is that the shtick now for administration?
Absolutely. They play this Jew card, as does George Soros. And even though
when he's not collaborating, he is a Jew.
Well, they're ginos. They're Jews in name only, as I coined. Other people have said it too. But this is the house of Ann Pasternak, who is the head of the Brooklyn Museum. They said that she's a white supremacist Zionist. She had some exhibit in there they didn't like. They covered her house in fake blood in Brooklyn, and that triangle is a symbol of the Third Reich for Jews. It was yellow, but there were different flavors of the
they had
symbol.
pink for homosexuals.
Right. When you go to Dachau, when you go to the death camp in Dachau, they have a little mini museum there, and they have all of the, I didn't know there were so many. They have all of the different symbologies that the Nazis came up with.
Hate has variety, Mark.
Right. There was all kinds of different colors and shapes and everything else. It was hard to keep up. I wish they had a guidebook I could have bought. But the fact that they sold coffee there, I thought was really interesting. They had a gift shop at Dachau that sells coffee and memorabilia. I swear to God. I mean, when you stop crying and then you go in the gift shop and they have little films, and I'm going like, who the hell came up with this?
Jesus.
But yeah, so anyway, so he refuses to say anything about this, Merrick Garland. The chanting on subway trains, are there any Zionists on the train? Now you have to get off the train. Subway trains in New York, chanting who are Zionists. The covering the house with blood. This is the subway train.
Raise your hands if you're a Zionist. Raise your hands if you're a Zionist. Raise your hands if you're a Zionist. This is your chance to get out. This is your chance to get out. Okay, no Zionists, we're good. Woo! No Zionists here.
Yeah, and I'm sure that people would be raising their hands.
Yeah, they've called on the governor Hochul to reinstate the ban on masks in New York State, a pre-COVID ban because of the Palestinians and Hamas using masks to cover their identity. Hochul may have to do this because of political people pressure of the people of the state of New York and the press has now also jumped on board. There's probably a mask lobby that still exists for masking during COVID, a post-COVID masking world. But there's huge calls in a number of editorials in the press to ban the mask mandate and go back to pre-COVID times when masks were illegal in the city of New York and the state of New York. And most places, it was illegal because of bank robberies and various crimes that you're wearing a mask. It's just logic. But as I pointed out in the Palestinian terrorist manual that we showed a couple of weeks ago on this show, on page 4 of the terrorist manual, it says to always keep your mask on so you can't be filmed or identified or photographed. They go into great detail, urging them to wear 2 masks so they're not ever photographed or have facial ID recognition done on them. So this is not something related to COVID. It is a Palestinian Hamas technique to avoid identification.
Yeah, and it goes before COVID too. I mean, you had Black Bloc where they would wear skin.
Yeah. That's where it came from. That's where it came from. And don't forget, Black Bloc Antifa came out of East Germany in the 1980s. I mean, that's where Antifa started from.
And they have a lineage going all the way back to the brown shirts and the red shirts.
Well, that's another episode for another show.
Yeah. All right.
This is my
While we're talking about your other home state, we'll continue. This guy, they released the video that showed this guy punching a female, and immediately, who is this guy? Who is this guy? And of course, there is another side to the story. Apparently, he was attacked pretty viciously. Beforehand.
They were squirting him with blood. He got fed up with their rants against the Jews, and he said something as he was walking by, and they turned on him. 4 of them surrounded him, started squirting blood on him, phony blood. He didn't know what it was. He kind of freaked out as to what they were squirting on him. He thought it might have been acid. But they did attack him, and he retaliated. So they filmed the retaliation as what they did, and that's what they posted to the news media. Then they put up pictures of him around his neighborhood saying he's wanted for assault, which was untrue, and tried to get him, to go viral, to lose his job and everything else. And they should be very careful if they're going to fire this guy. He is a pretty wealthy guy, pretty well-known guy, and would be quite litigious if they do try to take him down, I believe.
Well, and Tim Pool talked about that when I was on with him. He was part of Occupy Wall Street, and he talked about how these agitators will deliberately pull this shit. And so he said, you get a bunch of suckers who are legitimately saying, oh, I don't like this, or protesting. And the agitator will get in there and get a bottle, and then right behind some of these people, like throw a bottle at a cop or something. And so then the cop will beat the hell out of the people in the front of the line. And they're like, oh, they're beating us up. I mean, this is the same principle.
Wow.
And obviously, they're drawing fire from this guy when the guy, goes to defend himself or, retaliate at all. That's the only thing that is released.
Yeah, well, that's what this case was.
Disingenuous.
I couldn't figure it out at first either. I'm going like, did this guy just randomly knock this woman out? And that's what they were trying to spin. And of course, the next day, the rest of it came out. These people who were with him explained the entire story. And I went, oh my God, of course, this is insane.
And that's why there was no charges. That's why,
the NYPD saw right through it. They saw right through it.
Because I was like, he's not charged.
Yeah,
that's odd. Why
odd.
Is that?
Since he was identified and filmed. Yeah, it's getting more violent, people. This is not going to go away. This is going to lead to again. They picked up 8 ISIS members out of Tajikistan. Tajikistan is the country in the center of all the stands. Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, Huntley like that. Anyway, it's Tajikistan is next to China, but it's surrounded by the other stands, and they have like a rent an ISIS program almost out of Tajikistan. Those are the terrorists who mowed down the people in the Moscow theater, killing about 400 Muscovites a few months back. The Tajikistan, apparently they're guns for hire that you can hire. They picked up 8 of them here in the United States yesterday or 2 days ago, some in LA, some in New York, some in Chicago, apparently up to no good, plotting to do some evil. I don't know what that evil is, but when you have an open border, I guess it's a siren call to the rest of the world. And maybe the Biden people want some sort of 9/11 to occur, Eric. I don't know. But they did. This guy couldn't be yelling louder, the head of the FBI. I mean, testifying before Congress. He just keep, I mean, maybe even if he's just trying to cover his own ass, the guy has not shut up about the threat of terrorism in the United States since the border's been wide open. So they picked up these 8 ISIS Tajikistan guys the other day, and who knows how many more are out there waiting to do something.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is just an accident waiting to happen. Everybody in the country knows it. Everybody's waiting for the other shoe to fall. I mean, they were discussing some sort of Boston Marathon type situation. Don't forget, that guy is still a rock star who was on the cover of Rolling Stone, the guy who did do the Boston Marathon bombing. So it's not such a bad life. He's got a lot of money on the books in prison. Apparently, he's got a huge amount of money on the books from people who send him money from around the world. So he's living pretty large. He was supposed to be executed. They called it off probably because it was Massachusetts at the last minute. And he now lives very large in prison.
Sure, it wasn't federal. I can't remember if it wound up being federal or not.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was bad.
I don't know.
Let me see. Let's go through some super chats here. We got real support. Doc 5758. Biden will be replaced by Newsom or Michelle Obama. But what about the VP? Does Harris stay on the ticket? First off, it won't be Michelle Obama. I promise you, it won't be Michelle Obama.
You got to get off this Michelle Obama thing, people.
Oh my God.
Forget about this addiction to Michelle Obama. She's not involved in this. I know it sounds impossible, but she's not involved. Harris is an immovable object. She's got a 91% approval rating. What'd you say? Yeah, 91% approval rating among Black Democratic women who are the base of the Democratic Party. She's an immovable object. She's not leaving the vice presidential slot. She was out here last week putting her hat in the ring to run for governor, as I mentioned on the show, in California. If Biden loses, she's trying to at least have a job, which would be the governorship of California. That's Harris. As for Michelle Obama, there's no chance in hell of her being involved. The guy in waiting, according to Biden himself, is Gavin Newsom. I know this sounds insane, but that's who it is. If it happens, it's going to be Newsom. So again, you can have all the theories you want, but he literally held up his hand at a rally and said, "This is my heir apparent, Gavin Newsom." That's the endorsement. Okay. He's going to do the same thing at the convention, I presume, if he could get out of his chair and stand up and hold up the guy's hand. But we'll see what happens in August.
I agree. TPS 30 with a super sticker. Thank you. Got a new member who's Doc 5758. And also TPS 30 is a new member. Thank you. John Glass. Excellent camaraderie. Excellent takes on history. I appreciate you both. Well,
the Attorney General of Louisiana has called for Fauci's arrest and is issuing arrest warrants for Fauci. It broke before the show. So we'll see whether this is what we discussed here last week, that attorney generals in red states begin to physically arrest people who are in violation of law and let the chips fall where they may. So between Luna in Florida and this guy in Louisiana, somebody's watching the show.
Well, I think I went one further. I talked to Mark about this on the phone, but we'll put it out there just to seed ideas. Like, you could always generate some money, say $20,000 or whatever, and have them come to your red state for a speech.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Then they'll be there so you can arrest them. And you know what? If you did it well, you could, let's say, do it in 4 or 5 red states at the same exact time and take them down like they do with serial predators. There is a ring of people who are bad with kids, and they did a takedown that was in Germany, Kentucky, in the United States, and Australia, timed at the exact same second in all 3 locations
I
across
love
the
that. I love
globe.
that, Eric. I
A
love that.
takedown.
That's the opening
So-
of Sea of Love with Al Pacino. Al Pacino playing a New York City detective. They send out winning tickets to a lottery for these criminals that are wanted, and they're going to receive Yankee tickets. And Al Gonzalez knows about this. I think I talked to Al Gonzalez, former New York City detective. And in the movie, I think they did this with the Super Bowl at one point, New York City police. But in the movie, Al Pacino is there, and all these people show up to get their Yankee tickets, and they're all arrested simultaneously in a warehouse. They all have outstanding warrants. This has been done. What I'm saying is to escalate it up to bigger fish. And that's what
I'm saying.
That's what Eric's saying, and use the same procedure to take down these bigger fish. The same process, and criminalize them by having them show up for their winning prize. In this case, a check for a speech that they would give, which is at a university, which would be quite ironic. So we shouldn't talk about it anymore.
Nope. But if anybody's paying attention, probably come up with some money to fund it.
We shouldn't talk about it anyway. I don't want to give away the milk and the cow, even though the cow is eating sour food, whatever LBJ said there.
All right. Well, Jenny's getting inky with this. So what happens when the speed limit the car reads isn't the one that is posted, and the person slams on their brake out of fear of the beeping?
Well, I guess you know that your car has this. I mean, so you're going to get it right through when you go through the first school zone that's got a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. But there's going to be cars beeping all around the city. I mean, it's a crazy idea because you're not even going to know whose car is beeping anymore.
No, it's going to be like 5,000
beeping cars, right?
They'll be like the car alarms in the parking lot, only seeing all the traffic.
Well, when you go to pass someone on the freeway and you go past the limit to get past
Like I said, get a used car. Buy your car now, take good care of it, and hold it forever. Mr. Mike says instead of a dead man switch, a tax man switch.
It's a tax man switch, yeah. Yeah, that's well, they're going to count the mileage. The mileage itself is going to trigger electronically the amount that you have to pay. And I've heard it's like 3 cents a mile. I want to ask somebody this. Maybe somebody knows this. I got a bill from a car rental company out of Florida that says I went on the freeway or the toll road, which I studiously avoided. And I got a series of charges for like 66 cents. One was 35 cents. One was 66 cents. They added on their administrative fees. Each time was $15. And I owe them $96 in fees for a rental car that they claim for 66 cents. I was somehow in I presume, because it lists the toll road and there's no way I could check it. And it lists the code for the toll road. And it says like 45 cents, 66 cents, 33 cents. It happened like 6 times.
They take pictures of your license when you go through certain areas. That's
again, this is not applicable in this case because I'm not on the actual toll road. I did not go on it, but I'm wondering does your tire trigger it if you go over the line? Because I didn't go on these roads, Eric.
Well, they could have gotten the wrong day. I mean, but somebody
No,
else.
but I'm saying, how would you get 66 cents? The tolls are like $6.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I'm asking the chat, not asking you, Brainiac. I'm asking people out there. I'm asking regular people who are out there who may know this. I mean, $90, 80 of it is administrative fees. I mean, I don't want to pay this out of principle, obviously. Plus, it's insane. And I've rented cars in Florida my whole life. I've never had this. And it's Miami to Palm Beach, which I went a couple of times. But I specifically did not go on those toll roads.
Well, this is a good point. If it's a rental car, they could have put the wrong pass device. So if they had like an easy pass in there and they swapped it in the cars or somehow
well, they offered to sell me or rent me the Easy Pass, which I declined.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to use the toll roads. I'm aware of the structure of the roads and how it works there. So for $50, they'll rent you the Easy Pass, which I said, I don't need that. I'm not commuting. I'm only going to go to Miami a couple of times. However, they got their cake and they eat it too by simply saying I dipped into the lane somewhere, somehow, and some tire on my car. Anyway, I just wanted to vent on that because it's driving me insane.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
And Jenny's getting inky with it, saying, and kitchens. They don't like personal kitchens. That's earlier when we said humor and cars and
They don't like
kitchens.
gas stoves because of
For
gas.
sure.
There's a number of that. But this just in the mental health department, high potency cannabis linked to psychosis in young adults. Where have you heard this before? This is also coming in a huge study. This is a study with young people studying cannabis and effect on the brain. The numbers are coming in pretty strongly about this super powerful cannabis that's now being used by people who are 16 to 24. That seems to be the target
Is this
group.
dabs or something?
Well, it's not a question of dabs. It's just a question of the potency of what they're using. People are ending up in psychiatric hospitals, and the studies, 14,000 adolescents were studied between the ages of 16 and 18. Then when they were 24, the participants were asked to disclose the types of cannabis they used and any psychotic experiences and hallucinations, delusions. About 7% of them experienced psychotic episodes. Huge numbers, huge number. I know it sounds like, well, I've been using this my whole life, Mark, and nothing has happened to me. Analogy, type of analogy. These studies are for kids who are 16 to 24, not you, Henry, in your basement with your bong watching Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, I've had Dr. Shaham Das on out of England. He works in the asylum there. And he has said, yeah, there's a definite link of cannabis psychosis, especially like up until 26, 27 years old. You're very susceptible. Even Joe Rogan has finally, he's admitted that, yeah, you probably shouldn't be smoking it if you're 25 or under.
Well, ironically, the state of California has passed legislation that says if you're 26 or younger, you can't be incarcerated because you're a minor. They have legally made the age of incarceration. That came up in the Sirhan case, that he was incarcerated before the age of 26. And even though it was retroactive, 26 is now considered the legal cutoff of being a minor for criminal activity in the state of California.
Wow, what could go wrong? I mean, all those old gangbangers. I'm sorry, but
well, no, they released them. They've already been released. They've already been released. The guys who are 22, 24 years old.
So what's the goal? They just hope that they all die, in crossfire. I mean,
I don't know what the goal is, but Sirhan's the last man standing who was incarcerated before the age of 26.
Dude, your state makes my head explode. All right, PD said, "Yep, shut your car down for unpaid taxes and no-go zones where your car won't cross sector lines." Hello, 15-minute cities. And then Dick Dickerson's coming in hot with 10 AUS memberships. Thank you very much. One of these went to Jock of Ages, saying that Dick Dickerson is a legend, and I agree. Dick Dickerson is definitely a legend.
Wow.
Jenny's getting inky with it. Wonder what incentive there is for the metal companies to take the hydrants. It seems like it would be risky. I think there's a third party.
People just can't wrap their minds around it. First of all, there's two things I noticed. The people who follow the show are obsessed with this story. And number two is they can't wrap their minds around it.
Well, because it's ridiculous.
There's an underground stolen merchandise world, first of all, having nothing to do with fire hydrants, that people receive stolen merchandise all the time. And a lot of it is junkyards have it, and there's catalytic converters, there's TV sets. I know this sounds crazy, but apparently fire hydrants are now on the list.
Well, it does sound crazy, and it's quite maddening. I mean, it really is.
Well, it's maddening if you have a fire in your neighborhood and 350 fire hydrants are missing. The estimate to replace them is something like $6,000 to $7,000, by the way, the work and not necessarily the hydrant itself, but the work and the labor and the parts and everything else and uprooting the ground and blah, blah, blah. So it's a total of tens and thousands of dollars for the 300 times $4,000 to $6,000 for each one.
Yeah.
Which they haven't done because these towns don't have the money for that. So it's now a city without fire hydrants. Like I said, the city of Oakland has no stoplights. They've replaced them with stop signs because the homeless have stole the copper wire out of the stop lights. So I don't hear people talking about that. Apparently, they're more obsessed with these fire hydrants. But the city of Oakland smartly just said no more stoplights.
Yeah, well, whatever. Scott Bimbo said, Mark, if you stop in Buckeye next time, I might be able to find a LHO MC 6.5 and a B 30303 you could add in your collections. I've been reduced to grassroots subscribers. No Airbnb in future.
Buckeye meaning
Arizona.
Oh yes, well I do drive through there a lot, and I will be driving through there again, Scott. So I remember Scott mentioned this before. I do go through Buckeye a lot because I go to Prescott en route to Prescott.
All right, and Scott also says Carcano and British YouTube.
Right.
Did you see RFK when he was on Timcast?
What did I miss?
I guess RFK went on Timcast.
I did see it. I did see it. It was just more blathering.
All right. Jody Stancliffe came for the JFK content, stayed for the sheer common sense you two execute.
Dude, there's people who did the opposite, who just go, I came for the JFK stuff, and I can't believe I found two Nazi sympathizers. So there are the opposite people who go,
oh yeah, many of those.
Dude, it's so crazy. They go, you guys are so smart. I don't understand your one thing that I can't accept. I'm going to have to unsubscribe, Eric, because you guys are so smart. And I'm thinking like, well, maybe it's you, bro. Maybe you've got one area of your brain that's got a derangement syndrome.
Yeah, it's kind of the curse of we actually have two shows in one channel.
Yeah.
And we do get some of that tension where a lot of Tuesday people hate the Fridays, but then a lot of Friday people don't really watch on Tuesday. So it's
good luck.
It's interesting.
I guess Frank Sturgis is too controversial to have two parts to watch. I couldn't watch it myself because it was too controversial.
I was afraid he'd shoot me. Mo Bishop said, Mark's straw better not be plastic.
You know, it is plastic, and I got these mailed to me overseas, and I've got a stash, and then they're going to have to pry my cold, dead fingers off of these straws to get my collection, because they're elbow straws, by the way.
Ooh,
yeah, elbow. Here's Jenny. She's back.
Yeah, Jenny's back. Have you noticed store brands are cutting back product selection? There have been several I can no longer find. Today was Kroger chocolate milk mix.
Happens to me all the time. I completely thanks, Jenny. I completely rail about this all the time. Every time I go to renew or repurchase something that I have gotten for years, it has disappeared off the face of the earth. It's every single day that some product has disappeared out of my world. Today, 100-watt GE A14 light bulbs. They're now $35 a pack. This has been going on for 2 years. There's people who they want you to buy these lumen light bulbs that give off the worst light imaginable. So I am now reduced to buying them from Hungary, the country of Hungary. Regular GE soft light 100-watt light bulbs is my new obsession.
I found that I don't know if you buy dishwashing detergent, but
I don't have a dishwasher, although I do have someone who comes in and does it.
Oh, there you go. Well, I'm not high living like you.
No, I'm not high living. It's just a person obsessed with washing dishes who shows up and says, "Can I do it?"
All right. Well, anyway, I found for some crazy ass reason that Cascade has taken over the dishwashing detergent market, and I don't get it. It's like they used to have like Palmolive and all these.
Oh, there were other brands. There were other
now
brands.
It's like I can't, and of course Cascade's the one that I hate. We can't. It leaves
the granular one. That's the green granular one.
Well, it's green, but we do the liquid, and it leaves
liquid
stuff on the glasses and things.
Hold on, let me write this down. Leaves on the glasses. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but I can't figure out why Cascade seems to have bought the whole market for dishwashing detergent.
Can we get somebody to subscribe to this goddamn channel?
I don't know.
Is that possible? We could get some subscribers. This thing's been on 112 since 1969. I mean, what is the deal? I'm embarrassed to go outside now. People drive by in cars yelling out the window, 112,000, 112,000. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that this thing, and I know we're being shadow banned, and I think, here's my theory behind this thing. We have a lot of enemies, and we have enemies who I think complain to YouTube because they're active and activists. And I think YouTube puts that into a special formula and says, we're not going to let this channel grow at the level that normally would allow. And I know that sounds...
governor of sorts.
And I don't know the terminology. I don't know how it works, but I think it's a governor of sorts because we cannot grow. And this is happening to me on Twitter, by the way. The same exact thing. I see people saying, follow me, follow me, follow me. Number never moves. And I was shadow banned. They gave me my files personally when Musk took over. And I think the shadow banning is going on Twitter. And I think it's going on here. And I think it's based on the amount of people who privately complain about somebody's account. I'll just leave it at that. But I'm gonna trigger this bell, which is going to allow you now legally to subscribe to America's Untold Stories. That's the bell. They can't stop the bell. Don't let them stop the bell in your community. Tell your mother that she's got to subscribe. Tell the mayor. Go down the street. Get whoever you can, because at some point, who?
Do it for them.
Oh, do it for them. Yeah. I mean, you could have mail-in subscribing. Just take, go for subscribing harvesting. Go to a person's house, like what's his name does, where he goes to Mexico, that guy, and subscribes for us illegally.
Yeah.
Go into someone's house when they're not at home. Obviously, wear a mask. That's legal. Break in through a window or a door and subscribe on their home computer. They won't even know it. They won't even know that you did it. I think it's well worth it at this point. It's kind of an activist move, like Occupy YouTube.
All right. I'm not going to read this one out loud, but Fauci should be prosecuted for his crimes. Yes.
Look, people have got to go to jail. Once you jail these people, they'll never do it again. What the left fears the most is what they're doing to the right, and that is incarceration. They fear incarceration. Look at Bannon. Look at Sturgis. These people walked into prison. Look at Liddy. And they just said, I'll do the time and I'll get out. Now, if you're 77 like Navarro or Trump or someone like Manafort, it becomes a physical problem. That's why they do it to the older people, too. They don't even realize how they're committing geriatric crimes.
They're bullies.
They're definitely bullies, but it's more than that. It's sadism. It's sadism. But there's bullies and there's sadism. And it's being led by women judges and women politicians that are doing this because it's their biggest fear. And I want to fulfill their biggest fear. I want to see the women incarcerated, the women, because if you do it to one or two or three of them, it will never happen again in American history.
All right. Lady Freddie with the super sticker. Thank you. Grip Van Wrinkled. Thank you, Eric and Mark. Here's Friday's cheap haiku. Heroin, I love thee in vain. Love from Denmark.
I don't know what that haiku means. Somebody loves heroin in Denmark.
But it's spelled heroin like Wonder Woman or something. So I don't know.
Oh, it could be a female heroine. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we never mentioned the elections in the EU, how the conservatives picked up a lot of seats the other day, Eric. I mean, a huge story out of Europe.
Good. Hopefully it's like Brexit in 2016, which is
Lafarge is back in, by the way. And I heard Russell Brand pronounce his name Lafarge. I don't know if he was kidding around or what. Maybe.
Were you watching the one with Viva?
I watched the one with Viva. I was very uncomfortable watching that. It made me very uncomfortable watching Viva ask him about addiction because he started squirming. It's very difficult to talk about because it's such a personal matter. And Viva seems to have a
obsession.
Obsession. And even Russell Brand said to him, why are you asking me this, mate? Is it you or somebody in your family? And I feel the same way about it. I mean, what's the deal, Viva?
Yeah, it's definitely different. Fletcher Boy said hiring Barnes for Mark Fund.
Hiring Barnes for Mark Fund. I don't know what that means, but
I don't know.
Obviously, it's only $1.99.
Keep up the good work, boys. Any chance of a meetup somewhere / anywhere in Texas in 2024? Or
No, we
2025?
go to Dallas. Dallas is the place to meet up. We did it. I didn't see you there last year.
Yeah.
We had a lot of, how many people were there last year for us?
Oh, God. 300 plus tickets.
Were
And
you
some were
there,
virtual.
Alexander? We sent you a notice. Everybody knew about it. We had dinner with everyone except you, who couldn't get off his fat ass and drive from Austin to Dallas. I presume you live in Austin. I could be wrong. You sound like you could live in Denton also.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're doing Dallas this year, folks. We have not determined that
We
yet.
may not have a nation. That's why.
All right. BTK said, who will be Trump's VP? Nunez, Stefanik, Rubio,
That guy,
Vance, Burgum.
I think it's that guy Bergen.
Bergum's
Yeah, I think
really
Bergen's
rising.
starting to look like he likes these dead fish. You know, there's a certain logic to it. Pence was a dead fish. There's certain logic that you don't want two firebrands on the same ticket. I don't agree with that. But that's kind of the logic behind that type of pick. He's got money. He relates to him. He has some government experience. He could replace him in the future, I guess. Not that I have an opinion about the guy. I really don't. But
No, well, I'm happy it's not Tim Scott.
Yeah, I'm happy it's not Tim Scott. I'm happy it's not J.D. Vance, because that Senate seat doesn't come so freaking easily in the state of Ohio.
Right. Whereas Burgum is a freebie. He's out there wandering.
He does it right. Yeah.
So that's good. And the Kerry Lake can continue running in Arizona. So it's not terrible.
No.
Per se.
No, I think that's the way it's going to go. It's going to be a non-pick. And because you want to focus on the top of the ticket. Nobody cares who the vice president is. I mean, look, Nixon had Buchanan writing directly for Agnew. I mean, Agnew was the pit bull of the Nixon administration. So it served a lot of purposes to keep Nixon above the fray and allowed Buchanan to write speeches for Agnew that were very effective, attacking the culture of the left, which is what Agnew's job was until we'll get into it when we do the episode on Agnew, but he was kind of railroaded out there by forces greater than himself.
Yeah. JS said Biden will pardon his son and do it big. Will protect him from prosecutions on Burisma. I can't. It's a little written out weird. He may. He's not going to pardon his son until after the election, though. That's for sure.
Well, okay, just to get into this phony gun charge, which will get him probation anyway, the sentencing is not till October 15th. He will appeal the sentencing, pushing it way into 2025. That thing is so far down the road. The tax case is coming up in California next month. That's a separate case out here. Again, it's California. Who knows what will happen. But the reality of it is these cases are far down the road. And I believe we discussed on this show that they had to extract a deal from Harris to honor the pardon, quote unquote, or commutation if Joe Biden was no longer there in 2025 or 2026. So that deal had to be extracted. The commutation, they're now walking it back, saying we never said that, we're not going to commute the sentence, blah, blah, blah. Nothing's going to happen to this kid. I mean, what they wanted to do was get him on the reservation and make sure that he is the focus of all legal matters, because he could then be taken care of later as an entity.
Fair enough. Sea Wave Drive. Hey, Mark, I just rented a car in Florida and drove on a bunch of toll roads. It did not get charged.
Yeah, no, I've never been charged.
For paying my tolls.
Yeah, I'm paying your tolls. Thanks. I haven't paid them, and I'm going to fight it. I've never been charged like this for a rental car in my life.
Okay. Important question from Dick Dickerson. Hey, Mark, Sabrett or Nathan's for hot dogs? I'm Team Sabrett.
Well, everybody knows that it's neither one of them. Nice try. It's Hebrew National.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not even close. Not even close. Sorry. Thanks, Dick. Just trying to say it straight, bro. They're not even in the same league as Hebrew National.
All right.
Which is too expensive for a place like Nathan's, which Nathan's is better than Sabrett because Nathan's are grilled. At Nathan's in Coney Island, I grew up over there in Coney Island. So those are grilled and Sabretts are not. They're steamed. When you get a hot dog from a vendor on the street, it's in a puddle of water in his tank that's been boiled or heated. So Nathan's do taste better because of the grilling. But again, the Cadillac of hot dogs is Hebrew National.
All right. Alex Davy Duke said, yes, Mark and Eric, Twitter X must still have shadow banning, as YouTube certainly
Yeah,
does.
I think so. I think so. I mean, it's just too many numbers that are frozen for too long. Becomes apparent. There's nobody to talk to about it. There's nobody to write to. But just from previous experience, having been shown the file, look, he's not running the day-to-day operation of Twitter, Musk. He gave it to a Marxist revolutionary who was from the World Economic Forum. So what do you expect?
Yep, that's true. Okay, Flea Speech said heroin, woman/drug, love thee, in vain. Play on words. Okay.
Wait. It's a play on.
It's a play on words.
In what way, though? I don't understand the play.
Heroin spelled with an E, which is a woman, but it could also be a drug if you drop the E.
And what's the point? What's the point?
Love thee in vain, VAIN, or it could be vain, VEIN, which is shooting up. I don't know the point. But
what is the reference? What is it? Just something because you're high as a kite in Denmark? Rambling at your computer.
I don't know.
What did we say that triggered this? I'd like to know.
I don't know. This is a Rumble rant.
So anything goes over there. Anything goes.
But
did you see Brand with Alex Jones? He cited this book, Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein, Russell Brand. I really recommend the book.
Yeah, I just ordered an Audible off your thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So she wrote this book, Shock Doctrine, and it's about the deep state taking advantage of natural disasters. Came out in 2008. But on her website for the book is my review of the book, which Russell Brand was discussing the book today. And I said, I remember that book. And I look, and there's my review of it, which is kind of interesting that she used that as for her own book, Naomi Klein.
Well, that's when you were with Crooks and Liars, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Jenny's getting inky with it. Take a bell with you when you go out and ring as you walk around. Don't let anyone forget to subscribe.
It's really dark. I don't know what to do about it. Yeah, I mean, you've got these shows like we're doing with, Sturgis and stuff, and these shows are racking up huge numbers, but the subscription thing never budges. Like people just watch and they never even heard of subscribing. They just watch. How many does the LBJ one have, Eric?
Well, the Ladies of LBJ has 800,000 plus.
800,000, but nothing will move the subscription needle. I just find this to be technologically impossible.
Well, at least people are watching, so please tell a friend.
Yeah.
Alex Stevie Duke said, I still want to go to Dealey Plaza with Mark and Eric.
Well, you're going to have to pay a lot of money for that, Davy Duke. But it's not $5 ain't going to cut it, brother.
Ty Wagner said, awesome JFK content. I appreciate your channel. Thank you. And Strip Men 41 with $10. I appreciate you. And Alexander has written back saying, hey, I wasn't a member yet, so you can't blame me or my fat ass. See you at the next one. Representing New Brownfields.
Where is that, bro? Where is that?
I don't know, but it better be at least 200 miles away from Dallas. Yeah. Texas is a big state. It probably is.
I never heard of that. Where is that? There's so many different towns in Texas.
Yeah, I have no idea. Just the Dustin said he accounts for 200,000 of those views.
That's funny because he has hit the lever and he hired that monkey to do it on cocaine, which I really appreciate. That you know what I like, and I like the videos on Instagram where it's different animals playing with each other.
Okay.
It's just like a thing, it's like my version of a cat video. I like, like monkeys playing with puppies.
Sure. Like getting along between species.
Yeah, dude, I love those interspecies videos. Ducks being following a puppy dog.
Yes.
There's something about.
Oh, I love those too. Yeah.
I mean, can we all agree that it's such a great salve to the problems of the world to watch these animals getting along? And then I said last night, do you think bigger animals get along? Like, does a giant bear get along with a giant tiger?
If they're fed.
If they're fed, okay.
No, I mean that's really a big factor. So a lot
Yeah.
of these animals get along domestically because they're well fed and cared for.
There was a calf born to a bison in Yellowstone this week, and people shot video of it. And the bisons, like 5 bisons, surrounded the calf on the road and guarded it while cars on both sides came to a standstill because they couldn't get by. And the bisons are in a circle. It's unbelievable, looking down at the baby calf on the road in Yellowstone. And I've been to Yellowstone a lot. One of the first times I went to Yellowstone, there was a black dude. He happened to be a black dude, but he had a Volkswagen Beetle, which is rare for a black dude. But he took his video camera out, got out of the car, went up to the bison and started filming it. And it charged after him, and he dove back into his VW Beetle, and it was lifting the car up with its horns, and he's screaming out the window, "Help me, somebody help me." It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And the horns were literally lifting the car up and down while he was screaming in a panic with his video camera. These are wild animals. I mean, you can't just pose with a selfie with a bison. And yet I see this anthropomorphization from Disney where people think that these animals are harmless, and they get out of their cars in safari jungles and all these different things thinking that they're not going to do anything to them. It's crazy. A lot of alligator stuff lately.
Well, even worse. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, what about hippos? Hippos kill more people than crocodiles.
Hippos are in the Hall of Fame. Nobody touches hippos. And I think they kill people who are tour guides, apparently, from what I read.
Well, they knock people out of boats. And I mean, they're very violent. And,
very violent hippos. You'd be that violent, too, if you look like a hippo. I mean, they're like underneath the water. I mean, the hippo could go under the water. They could go above the water. Like, I'm addicted to Naked and Afraid. Like, I watch that every night. There's an episode every night in my house of Naked and Afraid. I highly recommend Naked and Afraid if you want to binge. It's about 10 years of it, so it'll take you a while. But holy crap, are there crocodiles in every episode? They're killing snakes that are poisonous. It's crazy. And they're naked and they're afraid. And who could blame them?
I'd be afraid just being naked in a normal environment, let alone.
You got to live off the jungle and kill.
That.
Forget about it. A lot of people tap out a lot. A lot of them just don't make it. And I'll tell you why. Insect bites. That's the number. And people who know Naked and Afraid know it's insect bites.
Especially in the wrong places.
Well, they're always in Central or South America in the jungle because they can't put them in Alaska. It's too cold. So they're always in super warm climates where insects live. And insect bites is the number one reason.
There we go. All right. So we were talking about masks earlier. Here's somebody who liked to wear a mask.
Dude, you want to explain this to me? This is so crazy. Hit woman in hijab. I still don't understand this story.
This woman.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just like Miss American Sunshine here.
Yeah.
Is a hit person.
Right.
I mean, it's incredible.
She's sent by a Muslim family to kill another Muslim family in London over a store clothing dispute.
Yep.
Is this the guy who hired her, or is this the victim?
Hired her. He and his son hired her to get a revenge killing. This is the son.
So she's stalking them in London, and she wants this guy to buy her a car. Dude, it's just the craziest story. The gun jams.
And this is who's coming for you. I mean, think about that for a second.
Well, there is a surprise. That would surprise me if that was the killer.
It'd be highly effective.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, nobody. I could literally see her pulling off a crime and then screaming to the cops, "Oh my God! Oh my God!" You know what happened?
Well, I mean, everybody's trying to kill everybody. Let's face it, for various reasons. And this was some business dispute that these two Muslim families had, one in America and one in London, over some stores or clothing stores or something. I'm not really sure, but this chick gets hired somehow to be the assassin, and this is a comedy, ready to be made, a movie comedy.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm sure it will be. Now, I don't know if you saw this one here, but in Atlanta has all kinds of problems, but the Atlanta prosecutor is jailed for stealing $15 million. Yeah. I like how they say glamorous. The glamorous
It's Donna
city
Brazil's
attorney.
sister. These people, and you could define these people whatever way you want, do not know how to do white collar crime. White collar crime is very complicated. They always live too large. They're either political people or people working in an NGO or a college in the past couple of years who are ripping shit off and then living so large. Look at this. And they wonder why they get caught. They are the world's stupidest criminals I've ever seen. And it's a zeitgeist of someone who's either an executive at an NGO, a college president, or someone who just steals COVID funds. But it's the same exact scenario. They go on cruises. They buy themselves Cadillacs. The paper trail is enormous. They do not know how to do white collar crime. They should stay out of it. Leave it to professionals.
Well, she did invest some of her money in Fonnie Willis.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, no surprise. And by the way, have you been following that judge down there from the Young Thug
No,
trial?
I have not. What is the latest down there? I don't know what's going on. All I know is she's still there.
Oh, well, that's her, and it's her prosecution, but there's another trial going on, also a RICO trial. It's for this guy called Young Thug. I think his name is like Jason or Justin Williams.
That's another case, yeah.
It's a RICO case. He's a rapper, and it's like murder, bunch of okay. The judge down there, check this out, had an ex parte meeting with the prosecutor and a witness, did not invite the defense attorney. The defense attorney found out about this, challenged the judge in the courtroom
to a fight,
to a mistrial. And can you guess what happened?
No, I can't guess what happened.
The judge has sentenced him in criminal contempt of court.
The attorney.
Right. The judge is sentenced. The judge is the one doing ex parte.
This happens with Judge Sirica. That's why it's
that's why I'm bringing it up now, dude, because this is happening right now in real life. And it's so freaking crazy because Brian Steele, the one who's being held in contempt, guess who his lawyer is now?
Wait. Now he's got a lawyer.
He has to because of criminal contempt.
Wait.
Yeah, because of criminal contempt.
The lawyer is now in jail. And
he's not in jail yet, but he was sentenced to it. That's been stayed. But his lawyer's Ashley Merchant, for God's sake.
Who's Ashley Merchant?
Ashley Merchant is the one who brought all the stuff about Fonnie Willis up in the Trump trial. She's representing one of Trump's co-defendants.
Oh, right. Okay, right. Holy crap. We need a tree on this one.
I mean, Phil Holloway is just so happy. He's got his 600,000 view videos going, and everybody's just tuning in to another day in Atlanta. It seems like reality TV. It's mind-boggling.
It seems a little regional, but obviously the people in Atlanta, there's millions of people who could follow this down there. You know what I mean? But he knows all the players. I don't know the players in this case, but it's the RICO case against Trump is on hold, or what's the status of that case overall?
That's a weird one because the case is on hold,
right?
Pending the appeal,
right?
Except the judge is still working it.
I know.
Which he shouldn't be still working it.
It's confusing.
What are you working on?
Yeah,
but it is.
It is confusing.
Anyway, but yeah, Ashley Merchant and Kiki Ray pointed out. Ashley Merchant showed up at the courthouse with like 20 plus other lawyers outside ready to come into the courthouse. All the defense attorneys in Atlanta
didn't phase that judge. Wasn't he reelected already?
No, this is another judge. It's Judge Glanville, who is also a brigadier general in the National Guard. And I'm like, that's the issue, is he's acting like a general. Like, how dare you question me?
They have to arrest, as soon as Trump gets back, physically arrest some of these judges and put them in line. Either impeach some, arrest some, or bury some financially when they go to re-election. Three-part attack on judges. Doesn't have to be done to all of them. If you do it to a few, the rest will get the message.
Yep. I totally agree. Let me see. New York Times issues a fact check of Biden's tales,
this is insane.
and
this
embellishment.
Is crazy. Right. This is crazy.
But Trump,
but they also said that they continue to maintain that the laptop was not factually based, even though they used it in the trial against fuckface they said there's a lot of exaggerations about the laptop.
Like
They
what?
will not buckle. They would not apologize for their Pulitzer Prize winning Russia hoax series, nor give back the awards that they won illegally.
I've got the stupid laptop comments that got sent from me. I mean, whatever. Marco Polo sent these things out, and
That's why Biden's wife, Melissa Cohen, who is hell on wheels, started screaming at the Marco Polo guy in open court, calling him a Nazi. That's nice.
Well,
that's nice.
Oh God! All right, and we talked about this before. Putin's warships outside of Cuba is a direct warning to Biden.
Nobody saw that coming. No, there's a plot twist. Nobody saw this coming. Alex is now saying these. Of course, these are nuclear armed. It would be absurd to send. These are nuclear powered, but I'm suggesting, as is the Russian military, that you wouldn't send a vessel, these two military vessels, into harm's way without them, because you can't go back and get the missiles.
Well, it's not like ours aren't out there with missiles fully armed. I mean, come on. They don't go out unless they're armed.
No, I'm saying the United States State Department said these do not carry nuclear weapons. The Cuban government said that they don't have nuclear weapons. If you want to believe the Cuban government, why would you send nuclear armed machinery like the sub? There's one sub and there's one destroyer. Both have the possibility for nuclear weapons. You can't go back and get them if there's a crisis. You have to have them with you. And when we saw in 1962 during the Cuban Missile Crisis, one of the subs, nuclear armed, the captain thought that the war had already started, and it was a political officer from the KGB who was on board who prevented the captain from launching his nuclear missiles against Florida and New York and Washington at the time that the submarine was in play. I forget the name of the KGB officer who heroically did this, but he's celebrated to this day in Russia for having overruled. He had technically a higher rank, Eric, than the captain of the nuclear sub at that time in 1962. The situation's exactly the same now. These are nuclear armed, nuclear propelled vessels, both of them. And it's long overdue, as I predicted, that he would come down the Bering Strait with a nuclear sub off the coast of San Francisco. I did not think he would. I never thought of Cuba, which is much more perfect because there's a port and they can hang out and do stuff. I didn't.
And the history too.
And the history.
And symbolic.
One of his heroes is Khrushchev, politically, that being Putin, for causing the United States to buckle and pull out their missiles out of Turkey. We all know the story of the Cuban Missile Crisis, but he's copying the exact path of his hero, Khrushchev. And it can be very effective. The U.S. is denying that this is any saber rattling whatsoever. Of course, that's the move to make. You're not going to say, yes, they're rattling sabers. We're going to blow them out of the water. So the move is to say it's just a visit to a warm port by the Russians. So we'll see what happens next.
Wow. All right. Here's another sad story. You've been talking about it for a while. They're pressing pills that are fentanyl.
Man, this is hard to explain to people. I'll try to explain it again. This poor girl took some perks, as we call them, to party. I mean, she wasn't taking them for any medical reasons. Her and her girlfriends bought some perks on the street, and she immediately overdosed on fentanyl because the drugs themselves are 100% fentanyl now. Fentanyl is so cheap that they're pressing pills like Xanax and Percocet and other common drugs that people like to party with or did like to party with. They're now fentanyl, and they press them with a pill machine to make them look like the pill that you're looking to buy. And these are not street drugs. They now have phony prescription bottles that the dealers show you a phony prescription bottle to show that the pills are coming out of a bottle labeled Percocet. The bottle itself is phony. Okay, I'm just going to talk slowly, so this is understandable. And the perks are 100% fentanyl. Fentanyl is far more inexpensive to make a pill out of than to actually get the material that makes up Xanax, that makes up Percocet. That's not so easy to gather, to make bootleg versions of these. I personally had a pill making machine in my apartment in New York when I was a drug dealer, and I personally ordered methaqualone powder from Italy that came to me in my apartment, and I was able to make quaaludes. Now, these were pure methaqualone. I was able to set the scribe on there to put 714 lemon on the quaaludes. I wasn't cutting it with fentanyl. I was making a quaalude and selling it. But what these guys are doing, these Mexican drug cartels, is they're making every pill on the market and cutting other drugs with fentanyl. The reason you have 100,000 overdose deaths is what this girl went through. And this is why every single drug on the street is now Russian roulette regarding fentanyl. It may end up being the best thing ever happened to us, because if you don't know what you're getting, you may not buy it after a while. So it may be the greatest gift from China we ever had in a weird way.
Could be. Now, this is an odd one you shared. A boy 12 collapses during ATV trip with his brother after dad gave him laughing gas.
Well, look, I mean, many veteran druggies like myself have used nitrous oxide. So that's why it caught my eye, because when I was a kid, we used to go into, I haven't thought about this in a long time. We used to go into Grand Union or a supermarket and steal all the whipped cream. And the whipped cream has whippets in it. The whipped cream has nitrous oxide, as most druggies know. Whip it good, yeah. It's a song from Devo. So the whipped cream has nitrous oxide in it, and you can get high. It's laughing gas. And why this father did that, he must be the most permissive father in the world. He was giving his own kids nitrous oxide, which we used to get a tank of nitrous oxide. I think I covered it in one of the episodes where when I was in college, we broke into Northern Dutchess County Hospital and stole these nitrous oxide tanks, and the car ran out of gas and we were being pursued by the security guard. And then he had a heart attack while he was pursuing us, and long-winded story. But nitrous oxide is used by dentists when they're doing surgery. And the father, for whatever reason, decided to give nitrous oxide to his young kids. And that's what the story's about. I thought that would be of interest to Eric and the audience.
Oh, wow. Kiki Ray said, oh, no, whippets are very, very dangerous. I used nitrous heavily for like a year and started to lose control of my legs.
Yep.
Like it was very, very scary, but we were getting tanks.
Yeah, I got tanks also, like I said. I mean, but what started out as whipped cream in the supermarket. You couldn't buy whipped cream in South Brooklyn for years. There was no whipped cream, and there was no rug cleaner, Carbona, which the Ramones famously talked about. Rug cleaner was another cheap way to get high. But yeah, I mean, it's highly dangerous. Nitrous has a lot of bad side effects, but it gives you a super high voice. You talk like this. It raises your voice, and you know you're. You know.
Oh, I thought helium did that,
and so does nitrous. Oh,
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. I'm so behind on my drug habits.
You're not missing anything, Hunley.
All right. This one, I'm going to close out with this story. I think this is a perfect story, and a lot of unintended consequences. Employees at a Philadelphia coffee chain voted to unionize. All three stores closed down a week later.
Such a beautiful story, because they're all either trans or lefty or loud or self-entitled. They negotiated with the owner as if they were the United Mine Workers, and they demanded all of these demands. And the guy said, look, I've been losing money on these 3 coffee shops I own for years. And they said, we don't care. We demand this. We demand that. And he said, go fuck yourselves, and shut them all down. And in the video, they're so shocked and so stunned that they're all out of work. They thought this was like the civil rights movement of their era. that these 3 coffee shops in Philadelphia were going to, make them $80 an hour. And the guy just pulled the plug on all 3, which he could do. He owns them. And they just think that's illegal. The fact that the
How
guy,
dare you? How dare you?
The fact that the guy said, he said, I asked him to come in to have a negotiation Sunday night. Nobody showed up. And they're out there protesting. Nobody showed up to the meeting. And he said, so I closed them all down. I'm done. That's it. And they are shocked that any owner of a business could possibly pull the plug on their own business and not give them $20 an hour.
Welcome to it. Couldn't happen to a better bunch.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Okay, there's a Rumble rant that came in from Flea Speech again. And
what is Flea Speech? I like that.
That same heroin vein was just a fun haiku thing Mark mentioned last week. Real question: wouldn't a media town hall fact-checking CNN/MSN, Fox, etc., about all the Trump allegations be something to see? Yeah, I'm holding my breath.
Well, I don't know about something to see, but they used to have all the Trump lies in the Washington Post, and they gave up doing the same thing for Biden, like in the first 5 minutes of his administration. They had a couple of Pinocchios at the beginning. And then they gave up about his crazy, insane stories. I mean, the fact that he was fighting with Patton in World War II and liberated the death camps, the fact that he was fighting with Ulysses S. Grant in the Civil War. I mean, these are crazy. Who could verify these stories by Biden? He was with Nelson Mandela on Robben Island,
he knew Putin as when he was an undercover agent.
He was a secret agent himself who worked against Putin. I mean, these stories are deranged. They're the stories of a deranged man. These are not, off the cuff, I got the wrong city stories or I got the wrong year stories. These are manufactured at a whole cloth. Who was the guy he fought? Popcorn? The guy he fought with a chain at the swimming pool.
Oh, yeah. I forgot his name, but yeah, it was Popcorn or something like that.
Yeah, something like, dude, these are completely made up bullshit stories by the king of bullshit, Joe Biden.
And by the way, there's a Johnny Carson clip out there where he was mocking Joe Biden.
No.
In 86. I wish I had. I should have, but it was
find that.
It was so freaking hilarious because he was talking about the plagiarism that Biden said.
Oh, right. That's right.
And he said, but they approached Biden about it, and he said, "Don't worry, I have a dream," or something like that. But it was.
Right. Let me tell you, there's something. Forget about the dementia. There's something mentally wrong. Corn Pop. He fought Corn Pop. Was a bad dude. That's the guy who fought y'all. They're gonna put you back in chains, y'all. I mean, there's something mental besides the dementia. There's something wrong with this man.
Well, he's been lying since forever. I mean, he ran for president in like the 88 election, I believe, and he had to be pulled out in like.
Okay, we got to cover the dog story. We got to cover the story of the German Shepherd, Eric. We have to cover this because apparently Jonathan Turley has now weighed in that the dog is being controlled by Biden as himself. This is a new twist, people. The dog has attacked 36 people. There's been over 36 biting incidents. There's some photos of him biting someone. But Jonathan Turley has sources that have informed him that Biden is holding the dog on the leash and getting them to bite people. Whether half-jokingly, jokingly, the result is the same. The dog is biting people. This is Master and Commander. The Biden dog's accused of dozens of additional attacks at the White House.
This is the Turley piece, yes.
Right, yeah. And Turley alleges in this piece that Biden is commanding commander to bite people.
Yeah, funny.
Wow. That is some bombshell story, if that is true.
Well, people are wondering. They're like, people are saying that the dog should be gone by now. So,
well, they brought the dog back. Well, they said in the article. I read the article. In the article, it says once the initial news of the story of him biting people died down, they brought the dog right back in.
Of course,
I didn't know that. He has to have the dog, and it says in the article he doesn't trust the Secret Service, and he's never trusted them. They don't like that he swims naked. There are women Secret Service agents who are offended by this. He tells them to go F themselves. He's the president. He'll swim naked if he wants. Dude, you should read this article. It's really fascinating.
Wow, he is trying to be LBJ.
He's gone. He is LBJ. People don't get it. He is the same as LBJ.
Wow. Well, to close out on a good note,
What do you got?
what I have to do every morning to get stories, to work with you, to make sure I'm ready to prepare for shows. We need to get some coffee. And we have our own coffee, americasuntoldstories.com/coffee. We have our own custom Supreme Breakfast Blend.
Whoa.
Please ignore the Boomer soundboard.
No, don't ignore it. It goes with the commercial. Stop busting me. I have one job in life.
This is a combination of two kinds of beans. You have the young, fresh, and yes, the young, fresh beans,
the exotic
that are
beans.
done in the modern style.
Right.
And then you have the old, crusty beans that are traditional, and they represent us, younger and fresher and brighter. And then you have the crusty Indonesian, Sumatra old beans. But somehow with that blend, it helps all of us get off our fat asses and get in the morning ready to defend the Republic.
I'll just tell you this. Jackie Robinson was the president of Chock-full of Nuts Coffee. And Jackie Robinson was supported Richard Nixon and supported the war in Vietnam. I just want you to know that the guy who broke the color line was a Republican.
Yes, he was. And a huge Nixon fan. He was at the White House and everything else.
Originally for Rockefeller, and then he switched over and became actually campaigned for Nixon during his presidential run. So, very strange.
All right. And now we're going to head over to locals for the after party. There's some questions and things like that are accumulating over there.
What?
As usual, you guys can be a locals member for free.
Okay. But you got to tell them about the thing, Eric, about the AI thing.
Well, we've got the third part of Oswald. That's for paid supporters, folks. So you could join for free.
You're not getting it for free. You can join for free.
Right. You could join for free.
We're not giving away the milk.
Right. But if you become a paid supporter, that includes 3 parts now, finally.
How many are there
the
total,
Oswald piece. There's still 2 to come.
Right.
And an LBJ thing to come.
Oh boy.
But we have 3 of the Oswald scripts that are out. Full audio drama. You
get the script with it, the actual script.
Yes, the script is there so people can read along if they wish, or they could have an audiobook type of experience and just, walk around, listen. And by the end, it's a full audiobook. It's 10 hours plus.
Right.
By the time you get through all of them. But yes, part 3 of Oswald is out and available. Part 4 and 5 will be underway. The dialogue is done for both of them.
Go on.
But the Foley is what takes a ton of work, finding all the sound effects and yes. And it's a vast improvement over the Boomer soundboard that Mark is using there.
Well, no, that was my own Foley.
I know.
Here's my Foley typewriter. Hey, Chief, the news is coming in across the wire.
So we're going to head over there and everybody come check it out. And we will see you on the other side.